Welcome to Readathon's podcast. I'm your host, Janani. Today we are going on a fun adventure with Curious George, a playful little monkey who loves to explore. Let's see what exciting adventure George has today. Are you ready? Let's begin. This is George. He lived in Africa. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. One day, George saw a man. He had a large yellow straw hat. The man saw George too. What a nice little monkey, he thought. I would like to take him home with me. He put his hat on the ground, and of course, George was curious. He came down from the tree to look at the large yellow hat. The hat had been on the man's head. George thought it would be nice to have it on his own head. He picked it up and put it on. The hat covered George's head. He couldn't see. The man picked him up quickly and popped him into a bag. George was caught. The man with the big yellow hat put George into a little boat, and a sailor rowed them both across the water to a big ship. George was sad, but he was still a little curious. On the big ship, things began to happen. The man took off the bag. George sat on a little stool, and the man said, George, I'm going to take you to a big zoo in a big city. You will like it there. Now run along and play, but don't get into trouble. George promised to be good, but it is easy for little monkeys to forget. On the deck, he found some seagulls. He wondered how they could fly. He was very curious. Finally, he had to try. It looked easy, but oh, what happened? First this and then this. Where is George? The sailors looked and looked. At last, they saw him struggling in the water and almost all dried out. Man overboard, the sailors cried. As they threw him a life belt, George caught it and held on. At last, he was safe on board. After that, George was more careful to be a good monkey until at last the long trip was over. George said goodbye to the kind sailors, and he and the man with the yellow hat walked off the ship on the shore and on into the city to the man's house. After a good meal and a good pipe, George felt very tired. He crawled into bed and fell asleep at once. The next morning, the man telephoned the zoo. George watched him. He was fascinated. Then the man went away. George was curious. He wanted to telephone too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What fun! Ding-a-ling-a-ling. George had telephoned the fire station. The fireman rushed to the telephone. Hello, hello, they said. But there was no answer. Then they looked for the signal on the big map that showed where the telephone call had come from. They didn't know it was George. They thought it was a real fire. Fast, fast, fast. The fireman jumped on the fire engine and onto the hook and ladders. Ding dong, everyone out of the way. Fast, fast, fast. The fireman rushed into the house. They opened the door. No fire, only a naughty little monkey. Oh, catch him, they cried. George tried to run away. He almost did, but he got caught in the telephone wire. And a thin fireman caught one arm, and the fat fireman caught the other. You fooled the fire department, they said. We will have to shut you up where you can't do any more harm. They took him away and shut him in a prison. It's quiz time. Question number 1. What is the name of the little monkey in the story? Question number 2. What color hat does the man wear? Question number 3. Where did George live at the beginning of the story? Question number 4. Why did George get into trouble? Question number 5. Where was George taken by fireman?